It is 5:07, and I would like to call this meeting of the Hannaford Regional Technical School District Board together. It's been a long afternoon. Could we have an introduction of board members? We'll start with you, Lorraine.
Hi, Lorraine Morris, representing the Addison Central School District.
Christina?
Hi, Christina Macklin, representing the Addison Northwest School District.
Dana?
Dana Peterson, Superintendent, Director, Hannaford Career Center.
Patrice?
She's moving.
Lisa Alexander, Administrative Assistant.
Thank you. Kim?
Tim Farnan from New Haven. I'm the Community at Large member for Mount Abraham School District.
Denise?
Hi, Registrar, Guidance and Adult Ed.
Nick?
Nick Colston, representing ACSD.
Jay?
Hi, I'm Jay Stetzel. I'm the Assistant Director for the Hannaford Career Center.
Austin?
Austin Haynes, I'm the new Gibson, so the Business Manager at Hannaford Career Center.
Gretchen?
Welcome.
Gretchen? Okay. Well, Gretchen Bailey is, according to my list, is on here somewhere. Jake?
Jake Burr, I'm engineering, architecture, computer science teacher, and currently in the car.
In the car, okay. Who else do I have on here? Did I get everyone? My list is being a little weird, so if I miss someone other than my... Oh, sorry, Judd.
Sorry, Judd, professional of being late all the time to every one of these meetings. No, from Bridgeport and represent the business side of things.
And Suzanne Buck, ACSD board rep, and your chair. So our first agenda item is we have 2 new staff members to welcome. You've already heard their names. First is Jay Stetzel. Welcome, Jay. And the other one is Austin Haynes, who, as you heard, he's the new old Gibson. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as printed? Moved by Judd, seconded by Lorraine. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Anything that we need to change or move around? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the agenda as printed, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Visitors, are there any comments tonight? I'm going to say that's a no. So the next thing on our list is correspondence. We have Human Services donation and a Human Services CDA state grant.
Yes, and so, Suzanne, I'll address that under the action agenda item, but we've received 2 grants and the amounts are listed under the action portion of the agenda. We have a private donation for the Human Services grant, and I'll report on that when we get down there. And then there is a Human Services Child Development Associate state grant for $5,000, and I will comment on that when we get down to that point in the agenda.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
The minutes of June 10th are on our consent agenda, and I'm presuming since there were no comments up front that those are fine. Does anybody have with them the printout for monthly accounts payable for June to let the board know what they were?
Yes. This is Nick.
Oh, thank you.
So the student activity account had a total of $983.49. At June 30th for the general fund, we expended $31,633.46. And the payroll was $47,269.58. And then for expenditures to July 8th, which is today, $45,566.99, and a payroll of $28,204.49. That's it.
Great, thank you. All right, action agenda, whoops. Linda?
I just have a question. There should be also June 23rd minutes. I don't know why they're not on the agenda.
Probably because the agenda was developed before we knew those meeting minutes were going to be there.
We'll put them on next agenda, June 23rd minutes for the next agenda.
Okay.
Thank you. So our action agenda, the first item is staffing for financial year 21. We have 2 new hires, adult ed and construction tech. Dana?
So in the packet, you should have both a resume for Douglas Brooks, who's our recommendation for the construction technology position, and David Roberts, who is the unanimous selection for the adult ed assistant director position.
Are there any questions or comments about either of these individuals for either of the positions? Nick?
I thought I did have a question, but so Douglas Brooks, he's a real boat builder, huh?
Absolutely, that's where he has a lot of his experience. But he has a masonry background and home construction background early in his career. He transitioned from traditional construction technologies to boat building, and he's actually offered many workshops and trainings in the art of antique Japanese boat building. So he's quite accomplished at that.
But he is interested in general construction technology.
Yes, he is. And in fact, he's done some general construction projects for Middlebury College. I think those are on his resume up near the top.
Okay.
Yeah, Japanese apprenticeship learning. They designed and built some structures, Japanese tea garden and pagoda types of structures at Middlebury College. And that's within the last 5 years.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dana on the 2 hires?
And Suzanne, if you want, you can take those separately, whatever the pleasure of the board is.
Right. I was just thinking for ease, if people would like, they can all be rolled into one motion, and we can vote on them together, or we can vote on them separately. What is your pleasure?
Together.
Together, okay. May I have a motion to approve the staffing FY21 adult ed, David Roberts, construction tech, Douglas Brooks, please?
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Lorraine and seconded by Christina to a motion to approve the staff. What's that?
Was that you, Kim, or was that Christina?
It was Kim, wasn't it?
I thought it was Kim.
It was Kim.
Sorry. So it was a motion by Lorraine, seconded by Kim. The motion is staffing FY21 new hires, David Roberts for adult ed and Douglas Brooks for construction tech. Is there any further conversation? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Policy 2.3, financial condition. Am I going to put Austin on the hot seat tonight?
Absolutely.
All right, Austin, it's all you.
Okay, great. So I don't obviously don't have the context to know how these sessions roll, but I don't think it's pertinent to go through every single detail. The key takeaways, if you've read the one-pager, are where our general fund balance currently sits at the moment. We've spent approximately 93% of our board-approved budget for the last fiscal year, leaving us with around $100,000 in our fund balance to date. There's been a little bit of movement on that recently, but it's mostly just year-end cleanup, so not a lot of things to change there. Another key takeaway is toward the end you'll see the note about the Perkins grant. That still is an item that's outstanding, and we're waiting to collect those funds ideally the end of this month or early August. Does anyone have any particular questions about any of the questions here?
Next moment, the one you're going to watch out for.
Okay.
No, it looks fine.
You grilled me before, Nick, so I was expecting more.
Looks good.
Great.
Okay, may I have a motion to accept policy 2.2?
So moved.
It was moved by Nick and seconded by Jed. Is that the voice, or was it a vice versa?
No, I got it first.
Okay, all right. I won't take your pleasure away. The motion's been made and seconded to approve policy 2.3 financial conditions. Are there any other conversation, discussion, questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Board retreat, August 5th, starting at 4. We have quite a bit of suggestions for that night. Would you like me to read them to you all? One of them is, well, part of it is COVID, how we're going back to school and school starting, budget, programming, NIASC report, board goals, and I have instruction outreach, and I don't remember what instruction outreach was about. But that's what we have on our retreat. So it should be a long, stimulating conversation. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add to that? There will also be an executive session that night, probably. Judd?
Can you remind us, are we doing the board retreat in person, or are we doing it over online meetings?
So that is something that is up for the board to determine.
Thank you.
Would you like to do it in person, and those that can't be in person, do it virtually? I know Lorraine had said no, that she needs to stay virtual. You want to be in person? Kim?
I have to do it remotely. Thank you.
Okay, so Kim and Lorraine remotely. What are other people's pleasures?
Nick in person.
That's so I can get you off the golf course in time.
Yeah. 4 o'clock's early.
Suzanne, I think that it would be appropriate for those who can make it in person to just let Patrice know. And then we can do dinner. It would be difficult for us to do dinner for those who are doing it remotely, but if you have a suggestion, I'm happy to entertain how we can do that. Otherwise, you might be on your own. And then we can certainly do it in the conference room, and we have had some success with doing meetings in the conference room with people joining in remotely. So I think that will work. Jay, you've been in at least one meeting where we've done some in-person in the conference room and remote participation, correct? So you agree that works pretty well?
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay, so people should be able to participate. It's not quite the same as being in the same room, but we can include everybody, and acoustics are very good in that room, so.
All right. Christina, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I was just going to suggest possibly, we make the call as the time nears because we can pay attention to what's happening with COVID as we go week by week.
That's true. That is true.
In 2 weeks.
There's a few states that are ticking up the old COVID counts right now.
Yeah, I mean, we could be in a different situation in 2 weeks, so. Hope not.
So, probably a week and a half before August 5th, I'll reach out to everyone, see who wants to be there, and we'll figure out dinner for everyone, including those that need to be at home. Yes, Lorraine, I will run around town and I will deliver meals before the board meeting.
That is not my question is, how long are we expecting this meeting to be?
I think we were planning on a 4-hour meeting.
Okay, because this is a fairly good amount of topics, and I just want to make sure, do we want to try and narrow this down, or do we feel we're going to have adequate time to devote to topics that are needed?
Well, that's why I threw them all out there for you guys to tell me what you want on that agenda.
Well, Nick, I was going to ask you, Dana, are you going to be able to address reopening? I mean, I've been reading a lot of stuff coming out of the college, Middlebury College, but I haven't seen a lot coming out of ACSD.
So I think we should be able to. The superintendents continue to meet twice a week, and that is the primary topic that's been on our agenda. We have received guidance. We've also received some interpretive analysis of that guidance, and we've been working to put together. Each of us has a reopening planning team, and we should be able to at least provide an update of where we are with the reopening planning. The reason that information hasn't gone out is we're expecting some final guidance about plans and where they are at and what we can do in terms of capacity, and that's supposed to be coming out in the next week or so. And so by the time we get around to the August 1st meeting, we should have a pretty good idea of what that's going to look like, not only for the Career Center, but for all of the partner schools in the
all three schools.
All three schools. Yeah.
10 schools, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And Nick, ACSD is in the process of completing a survey of all parents. And in the survey, it asked about, riding the bus, being in school, virtual schooling. It's running the entire gamut, and they're collecting all that input and working on a plan. They've got probably about 10 different action committees working through the summer.
Good.
So Addison Northwest also sent out probably the same survey, or if not similar. Yeah.
So the Career Center not to survey people because we know that it would be redundant in the large majority of cases, and there is a little bit of fatigue around filling out surveys. So we will just follow the lead of our partner schools with that respect, but we are working to be flexible to accommodate as many students as we can, given the context and given the phase of opening. So,
good.
So one of my suggestions would be that we do not knock off the agenda the board goals for the coming year. We have yet to really set board goals for ourselves and for our work, so I really think that definitely needs to stay. We can put the COVID return to school with a question mark to see what Dana has for us or where things stand.
And that could possibly be just a report from me, Suzanne, so that may not take up a significant amount of time unless people have questions. That's
And I know that the teachers had suggested that we look at the NEASC report, and that might be an initial dive into it and then continuing to dive into it further at another meeting. And we also talked about starting the budget process and looking at programming and everything that rolls up into the budget. because budgeting is not going to be easy this year or next year, or probably even the year after that. So does anybody want to stick their neck out any further than I've already done and tell me to take something off the list or tell me to put something back on the list?
I think all of those are very important to keep on the list.
Suzanne,
I think all four of those, I think the back-to-school protocols, the budget, the board goals, those are all very important. The NEASC report, I'm not sure. I mean, to me, that would be the last thing I would be, I'm not as concerned about looking at that at our board retreat as I am the other items. I'm not saying that's not important to look at, because I think it certainly could have some valuable information. But I think the other three items are more immediately pressing, at least to me.
So Suzanne, might I suggest that we could do the same thing? We can take, including my capable assistant Jay in the lead, that he and I can do probably a summary of both opening of school and the NEASC to give the board just an overview of what we'll be doing in the next 6 months to a year. And then you can decide, that gives you 2 priority items and 2 items that you can flex some time with in terms of how you like to address those at the meeting. And if you and I get together ahead of time, Suzanne, or you and I and Jay, we can fill you in about, how much time we might need for, just reporting on both NEASC and the opening of school. That would give a high level view for the board. And if they want to pull an item or 2 off of that to set as a board goal, then that would be reasonable. And then that would leave more time for the board to deliberate on what those goals should look like. And how we implement.
So like Dana, we don't talk.
Suzanne, can I ask a question?
Christina, yes.
Yes, I was wondering about whether or not we need to spend any time talking more about the IB application or status or any work in the year.
Oh, the community engagement. To be honest,
You want me to comment, Suzanne?
well, yeah, because I'm trying to remember even where some of the community engagement stuff is right now.
We are 2 years away from authorization. We
Okay.
just received the notification that we were approved for candidacy, so we have 2 years to put that together. So we are in the candidacy phase, and we'll be aligning it with the work of the Community Engagement Committee with respect to mission, vision, and goals. And those things will be incorporated in core values into the development of a cohesive set of policies and procedures. So there'll be a lot of work that we'll be working on. That is something that we could bring to the board and do updates, and we could have a standing item through the fall if that would be helpful. But I don't know that you will need to take any action because that's basically in the hands of our small IB committee, and we can update you on what that looks like with respect to leadership team tasks, IB coordinator, and so forth. And then we could take that back to the board for additional input and budgeting. It may have implications for budgeting, but we have an idea of what those budget items are going to be over the next 5 years. So we can present that at a board meeting as well. So
Yeah, and I definitely agree. Keeping the CP2 as an agenda item is going to be crucial because people are asking questions, wanting to know. So the more the board can be the spokespersons and the advertising agents, the better off we'll be.
So in the fall of 2022, if all goes well, we will be able to host our first cohort of IB CP2 candidates. And that will be a 2-year cycle. So that will end in 2024. So that's this year's freshmen,
Great.
or the coming year's freshmen. Will be eligible for that cohort.
Okay. And so, Dana, have you told Austin what CP2 means, so that an IB, so that he's not left in La La Land as we all throw around initials?
I'll be happy to keep them posted about that. That has not been our primary area of focus. But IB stands for International Baccalaureate, and we've gone through a rigorous process to be accepted as a candidate for implementing that. And we have 2 years by which to develop the full plan for implementation. And I want to give a shout out to Wendy Pratt and Jake Burnham for their significant collaboration and work on developing the responses for the candidacy phase. And,
So, Austin, I'm going to leave you, since you're new to the education world. If we ever start throwing out initials and you don't get it, you can be our acronym buster and just say, hey, stop, I don't know. So just let us know, okay?
I appreciate it. I guess the only comment on my end is I'm loosely familiar with it, and it's mostly by osmosis through Hayden. So he's shared a bit of historical context with me already. So
All right,
good to hear we're moving in the right direction, though.
Okay, just keep us out of the alphabet soup, okay?
Yep, will do.
Thank you.
Suzanne,
yes.
Nick, could we get a copy of the NIASC report? Is it over 150 pages or
175? But I'll be happy to send it to you.
Thank you,
Yep.
Dana.
I'll put it on the
That'll reduce the discussion.
So, I'm not going to ask for a vote on the items for the board agenda because they might fluctuate. So we're just going to say that we're going to go with what we think we have right now unless things change. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Dana or Austin, the Human Services donation and the Human Services CDA state grant, please.
So I can start, and if I miss anything, Austin can certainly fill in from the financial end. So our Human Services program and our instructor, Ulti Danforth, applied for and received a state grant for $5,000 on what is called the Child Development Associate Certificate. It's an IRC, an industry recognized credential. And the couple of things that it's highlighting is the funding was requested to help make progress towards a variety of credentials within that, including CPR and AED, as well as the CDA itself, the Child Development Associate's degree. That is a credential itself over the course of 2 years, very rigorous. And the funding will pay for trainings. The funding will also pay for stipends for guest presenters, and it will also be expended on Child Development Associate related materials, whether those are textbooks, resources, websites, and so forth. And it's based on working with young children curriculum, 9th edition. And so there's also contingency for any transportation that might need to occur for people participating in that program, whether that's to the Career Center or with our partners. One of our main partners is the Turner Child Center of Addison County, or Addison County Child Center. And that grant is for $5,000. Any questions on that? Austin, how did I do?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
If no questions, then I'll go to the next item, which is the donation of $2,500, and that was a student in the Human Services program for early childhood education wrote letters to people out in the community and received a grant, a support grant letter, and $2,500 from a sponsor. And the description that we have for this, and I'll read it to you because it's much more succinct than I could possibly be, that the program worked with local high-quality childhood education programs, particularly the Addison County Parent Child Center, and they brought books and activities to over 50 families during COVID. So the students actually delivered and worked with families through a variety of media, including remote connections, to use differentiated instruction to provide appropriate delivery of early childhood reading strategies and opportunities to families. They were research-based, and the student work happened both independently as well as in regularly scheduled Google Meets. So they worked in their classes and then brought that out into the community. The students researched and selected the books that they used for those activities, and they also designed and created and tested the activities in real time. And so one student was the one who was responsible for writing a formal letter to request donations. And from that, we received, I think it was a single donation of $2,500, but that in itself speaks volumes about the integrity of the program and the interest in supporting early childhood education. So there you have it. And I think that was an out-of-state contribution, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, from Texas.
There you go. Any questions about either of those initiatives? What I found was particularly valuable is that Alti was touching base with me throughout the remote learning to keep me posted about what was happening and to make sure that everything that they were, all the ideas that the students had were in compliance with our regulations and prescribed approach to continued remote learning. So I really appreciated her work and the students' work. And that goes for a number of other program instructors and students. They exhibited some real resilience in being creative during the remote learning phases and how they continued their learning and their work with the community. Kudos to them.
Great, and I'm so thankful that they've been able to come up with the donations and the grants, and that will definitely go a long way to helping students be able to get their education in these programs. And it's definitely needed. I mean, people need daycare, and the slots fill up very quickly, and the waiting lists are long. So, may I have a motion to approve or to accept the donation of $2,500 for Human Services and the $5,000 grant for the Human Services Child Development Associate State Grant?
So it's Kim, so moved.
Yeah.
So, Judd moved, Kim second. Sorry, Kim, you're a little slow there. It's been moved and seconded to accept the $2,500 Human Services donation and the $5,000 Human Services CDA state grant. Is there any further discussion, questions, etc.? Judd?
A question in my head. Did I hear that the grant, that the donation came from Texas?
Yes.
And not that it matters. I think it's great. I'm just wondering, was there an affiliation or was it a?
Yes, I think that there was affiliation with our program, and when the letter got out far and wide, the response came from there. So, something else happened earlier this year. We had some responses on our survey that actually came from, Oklahoma or Arizona. So some people, when we were doing a survey on our community engagement and mission and vision work, we had a couple of far-flung responses. So probably alumni and connected to the program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Is there any other questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. All right. Well, look at that. We are 2 minutes behind according to my computer. We're moving into the informational agenda. The reports to the board were sent out. Were there any?
And I have 2 other items.
No, there were 2 other items. Sugarbush lease.
What's that?
There's an item
There's a
on
Sugar Bush
Sugar
lease agreement, and there's an approval of
signatures.
on People's Bank. There's some,
Oh, those did not appear on my agenda, sorry.
yeah, I think there were two versions. Suzanne, one came out last week, and the other one was.
Good thing we approved the agenda.
Which
All
agenda?
right, egg on my face. So, is the lease for the sugar house? Shows you how bad my day was.
We're
So-
going with,
I would like to not take action on the lease on the sugar house tonight.
Because
Linda?
I spoke before this meeting, and I think we're going to go ahead and look at it. We may not sign it or finalize it until later on. So the board's going to first look at it tonight.
So, but we're not going to necessarily adopt it tonight. We're going to look at it. Is that correct, Dana?
Yes, you can do that. It's been reviewed by Vermont School Boards Insurance Trust, and we had a couple of things. Linda and I have been working on it since back in June, for about 3 weeks, and we were updating the previous existing lease agreement, but it's changed names because it's no longer the estate. It's now Linda and her husband who are the lessors. And so we've changed some wording. We've updated it to things that are no longer provisions that are no longer an accurate reflection of the current state. And we've updated it to reflect current practices and any liabilities. So what we've done is we took the agreement that Linda and I reviewed back in, first, second week of June. And Linda got a copy. She gave me some feedback. I sent the original draft to Lisbeth. They reviewed it and got back to me yesterday with some additions that I shared with Linda. So it's about a 5-page document. It is a relatively traditional lease, and it basically allows the Career Center Natural Resource Management Program to use the Sugar Bush on their property for a 3-year cycle with an evergreen clause that allows it to be renewed at the end of each year unless somebody would like to sever that agreement. But that is the basic premise behind the lease agreement. I don't think that the last lease agreement went before the board, but it was my discussion with Linda and felt that because there's a representative who is signing off on the lease, and I know that I can only do a lease agreement for a year, that the board would have to take on any action beyond that. Originally, the lease had 7 years in it, and we were told by Lisbeth that the board cannot exercise its authority beyond 3. So that provision has been changed to reflect a 3-year cycle.
Okay. So, what are people's pleasures? I mean, documents came out late last night, and to be honest, I haven't made my way through everything, and now that I know that my agenda is incorrect, I definitely didn't read that piece. So, I don't know, did everyone else get through everything?
I did.
I looked at it.
I looked at it.
Yes, I did.
But we can postpone it till the next meeting if you wish.
Yeah.
What is your pleasure?
Postpone.
Linda, you're free to say something if you...
The only thing I was going to say is there's no urgency on our part, so it's not something that we need to have signed immediately. So if people want to have a chance to read it and go over it again, that's fine.
So Suzanne, I had to join in on another computer. For some reason, my computer just died. And so I'm on one with no camera, so you can't see me. But
Okay.
I'll see if I can get the other one back up and running. So if you would like to postpone that, you just need to entertain a motion, Suzanne.
Yes,
I can get a second, and then
I move that we postpone it to the next meeting.
Second.
Kim.
So that's, motion to table by Nick and second by Kim, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. To postpone the lease agreement until the August meeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Rick, what's the next item on my agenda, since you have the correct one?
Approve signatures on accounts.
So there are two corporate resolutions from People's United Bank. I'm going to let Austin speak to these, that were similar to the ones we've already done. But generally, the accounts for People's were included on the Middlebury ones, and for some reason that didn't happen this year, so they needed to do their own. I'll let Austin speak to that.
Yeah, I guess to add, there isn't a whole lot, but essentially over the past couple of weeks in communicating with people, they've pushed out 2 documents that needed to be updated for their annual review processes, and just switching Gibson out and adding me to the account. So the first one-pager just establishes the authorized signers for card services and the overall credit card limit of $25,000. And again, it replaces Gibson with me, and Linda needs to sign that one at the bottom. The second one, which is a little bit more involved, is similar. It's for the CD in our scholarship account. And so it's, a typical boilerplate resolution, just indicating who the authorized signers are on the account. And Suzanne, you need to sign this in front of a notary. You see on the last page is a section for you to sign that, and it needs to be notarized in front of either a bank official, or we can make a connection here for you to notarize in person at the school.
So, Linda, you're a notary. I can sign you, can I?
I was just going to ask that. I'm a notary, but I'm also the clerk. Is that a conflict, or would it work?
That's a good question. My quick assumption would be, since you're not listed on the second, the one that she needs to sign, I think that would work. I can double check with our contact with Peoples, but it seems kosher to me.
That means I can come over and see your house.
There you go.
So, Austin, I would concur with you, because a notary public has that office, and they need to be able to swear that the person whose signature they're notarizing is true and in fact that person. So there's no conflict of interest, because she doesn't have anything to gain from it, so she can be an objective party. So I don't think that would be an issue.
Yeah, great question though, Linda.
So when we're ready, we'll both go to the office together.
So you need a motion to approve these?
Yes, please.
So I think technically you need a motion to authorize Suzanne to sign the one document.
Yeah.
Right.
And Austin, what is the motion on the second one? You need a motion on that?
Yeah, it's just that the board needs to approve the signatures of both documents, is the direction I was given from the bank.
Okay. So on the longer document, it has 4 signatories. That's James Beck, Austin Haynes, Dana Peterson, and Joseph Stetzel.
Correct.
Those are the 4 names that need to be approved on that account. And
so is that the credit card?
There are two accounts listed at the top, and I believe they're the CD and scholarship accounts.
So the credit card one is Jay, Austin, Dana, and Jan Beck, correct?
The credit card is a separate account.
the credit card is not in this packet. Is that correct, Austin?
Well, the one pager authorizes the credit card services, or card services, I should say. But there is a third document which is internal, which is credit card specific, so that's not part of this packet. So you're correct.
So do you want to take that as 2 separate motions? I think it would be clearer for the minutes if you take it as 2 separate motions.
Yep.
All right, so Austin, since you have the motion of what you need, would you read it to the board and we'll have somebody move it and then second it?
Sure. So the first one is we needed a motion to approve the deposit account resolution. And that is okay.
So it's been moved and we have a second for the deposit account.
Second.
Lorraine seconded it. Is there any further conversation, discussion, questions on that?
And just so that people can be clear, that is the first one that has 4 signatories. Is that correct, Austin?
Yes. Yes.
Just so that everybody's on the same page.
Yep. And the second resolution that I need is
I have to vote on the first motion first. Sorry. All those in
I'm a
favor?
newbie.
Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, you've got that one down. Now your next one, Austin.
Great. So I need a motion to approve the credit card resolution.
So moved.
Second, Kim.
Then moved and seconded by Nick and then Kim to approve the credit card. Is it last word? Resolution?
It's technically entitled Business Card Resolution Form at the top.
Business card resolution form. Yeah.
All right, business card resolution form. Is there any further conversation or discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. We have one more to go? Or are we done? That's it?
That's it for the bank
That's it.
documents.
Okay, anything else from Austin that we need to do for you tonight?
I submitted a one pager, but I think that's part of the informational agenda at the bottom.
Okay.
That's it from the finance office.
Okay, thank you. So we're down to reports to the board, and the reports I know came out late, but if anybody has any questions on any of them, please say what your question is and which report you're directing it at. Anything, anyone? Okay. So, then we're down to policy 4.1, governing style. Christina, would you like to do that?
Oh dear, sure, I guess. Remind me what we're reviewing.
So 4.1 governing style is how well did we do with the meeting? Were we good people? Did we pay attention? Did we have side conversations? Did we get off task?
Well, I think that welcome to all the new people that are with us tonight, and it's really great to meet you and see you. I think it was an awesome meeting. We ended exactly on time, and you kept us moving, and yeah, I think we were all good people.
Thank you, Christina.
Oh, except Suzanne, who didn't have the agenda correct.
That's all right. We came to your aid. That's what it's all about. So.
They said my board members supported me when I had the wrong agenda. We do have on here executive session, negotiations, and personnel. So we will need a motion to go into executive session. And at that point, I will, it's been moved and seconded to move into executive session. Dana, is there a link for the executive session?
Let me check. I've done so many links that I can't tell you.
I know.
Yeah, I did not see
Linked
that.
out.
I know, Linda.
Linked out.
He's linked up.
Linda, I am going to
I
write
do not
down.
do one,
for you.
but I will be happy to send one
Okay.
to board
I
members.
need
Right
to know
now.
who made the motion.
So
Kim
Kim
and Nick.
and then
Thank
Nick.
you.
And I think it's 5:57. It is according to my computer.
Yeah.
So I will send a link right now.
Are you sending an email or the calendar?
It will be an email with a calendar link. So you can click on either one, I think.
All right. So at this point, Austin and Jay and the rest of our guests, you guys are excused and the board just hangs out.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.